From the nonpartisan Maddy Institute and the California channel at the state capitol, this is a Maddy Policy Brief.
Welcome back. I'm Mark Kepler with the Maddy Institute. One of the many challenges facing San Joaquin Valley agriculture is the issue of water scarcity. Perhaps it's the most important issue. Simply stated, the region has more productive farmland than local water supplies can support. So even importing water from elsewhere has not resolved the water issue. And there was a related problem of groundwater overdraft. We're discussing the Valley's water issues with Ellen Hannock, a water policy expert with the PPIC. How has water management changed in the Valley over time?
So, the Valley is a great place to grow things if you can irrigate. And already back in the 1920s, folks had started to pump groundwater. Technology made some good pumping available, and you started to see this problem of more groundwater being taken out of the ground on average every year than the amount that gets naturally recharged from the rain and from being adjacent to rivers. So over time, this problem started leading to land sinking
Subsidence, they call that.
Subsidence, and that was actually one of the impetuses for some of the big projects that now deliver water from Northern California through the Delta to the Valley. If you're on the west side of the Valley, you see the Delta-Mendota Canal, California Aqueduct. On the east side, the Bryant-Kern Canal. Those are projects that are all part of getting surface water to places that were pumping more groundwater, and that's been helpful, but it just hasn't been enough.
So you're talking in your report about this water balance or imbalance in the San Joaquin Valley. What are the numbers? Where does the water come from, and where does it go to in the Valley?
Right. So we looked for the last 30 years, and on average, what we found is that a bit over half, 56%, comes from local sources, and that means the water up in the Sierra coming down through all of the rivers on the east side, all the way, down from the Kern all the way up to the San Joaquin, and then water that rainfall on the valley floor. That's 56%. That gets used directly.
So more than half comes from local supplies.
More than half, yeah, and that gets used both as surface water and that gets used as what we'd call sustainable groundwater, because some of it recharges the basins and people pump it out. About a quarter comes from imports, and that is water that comes down from Northern California through the Delta, through the pumps at Tracy, and then goes into canals and goes onto valley farmland.
So the Delta is very significant. Very
significant, a quarter on average of all the water that is used in the San Joaquin Valley. And then there's a little sliver that gets directly pulled out of the Delta, 6%, and then the rest, 13%, that is what we call groundwater overdraft.
Yeah, and you're talking in your report about this diminishing groundwater reserves. What's happening in the Valley?
So groundwater overdraft is when you're taking out more than the amount that gets recharged, and what that leads to is the water table falls, so you have to pump deeper and deeper. That means some of the shallow wells go dry. It also can affect your water quality, because sometimes deeper water is not in as good shape. It also leads to land sinking, or what we call subsidence. So in some places you've got infrastructure that's being damaged by this.
Canals,
bridges,
all
all
of
that.
I've also heard that when the water is taken out, sometimes that formation can collapse, and so you lose that aquifer.
Well, you lose some of that aquifer. We have ginormous aquifers in this valley, so you're not going to lose the whole thing.
Okay, so what started this kind of accelerated overdrafting beginning around 2000?
So it's been very dry. We just got through, I'm going to call it and say that we're pretty much through the latest drought, because it's been so wet this year. But we had 5 years of really dry conditions. But if you look, the whole last 15 years have been drier on average than any time since the 1920s. So there's just been less surface water available to recharge our groundwater basins. That's one. Second is that more water is now coming through the Delta and going all the way down to Southern California than before. And this is, fair and square, it's Southern California's water. They have contracts just like folks in the Valley do for some of that water. But in the old days, they weren't taking it all.
So the farmers were able to get that water?
Farmers got it for next to nothing. And now about 500,000 acre-feet are going all the way down to Southern California.
So this all resulted in the state law in 2014 regulating, managing groundwater. We were one of the last states to actually do that.
We were the last western state.
The last, behind Texas?
Yes,
okay,
behind Texas.
So what did that law do?
So that law is very uniquely Californian in spirit, because it's all about local control. And what it says is that folks who are using groundwater at the level of individual groundwater basins have to get together, develop groundwater sustainability agencies to manage that groundwater, develop groundwater sustainability plans with a long-term plan for bringing that groundwater basin into balance and managing it sustainably, and then they got to implement that.
Yeah, sustainability is the key word there, right? I mean,
Right.
it's something that's going to be able to last over time.
Over time.
So do you think the groundwater deficit can be closed?
For a more in-depth analysis of this and other public policy issues important to Californians, please log on to our website at maddyinstitute.org and click on the Policy Analysis tab.